Coach Troy from Tate Fitness, and today we'll be doing some questions and answers. These are questions given about the industry, about PEDs, exogenous hormones, and my thoughts behind what I think about what's going on presently, what's going to happen in the future, etc.
So, what's the importance of exogenous testosterone and TRT? And why is it such a common thing now to find TRT clinics and hormone replacement clinics? What has caused this influx of TRT clinics, and what's the whole big deal about this testosterone replacement therapy?
Well, my general consensus on testosterone replacement therapy and these hormone clinics, and they're pushing on it. It's definitely a market for it, and it's big in the industry as far as people making money from it. But to me, the most important thing about replacement therapy is for people that are hypogonadal, or these young guys and women that are hypogonadal for either hormonal deficiencies, whether it be endogenous related or naturally related, due to just suppression of their nanograms per deciliter from their gonadotropin releasing hormones, or it could be from just mistakes and past, abuse that they have endured, as far as cycling incorrectly, coming off abruptly, suppressing their own, like I said, GnRH through using SARMs or using an anabolic or androgenic steroid component. They're going to have to use testosterone replacement therapy basically to bring them back from the gutter and putting them in normal hormonal levels and healthy levels to sustain neuroprotection, cardiovascular protection, etc. I believe it's one of the most essential hormones that people need if they're deficient in it. Like I said, if blood work is indicative of having a low nanograms per deciliter in your testosterone levels, because it's basically the metabolic function and anabolic functions for all your metabolites and protein synthesis and androgen receptor activation throughout the whole body. So it's definitely essential and very, very important for that.
What's the role and importance of DHT as concerns to testosterone goes? What is its, basic mechanisms of action? Why is DHT important or relevant?
Well, DHT is dihydrotestosterone, which is enzymatically converted via 5-alpha reductase from testosterone into dihydrotestosterone, which is the most androgenic component of testosterone itself. So when I say androgenic, I'm saying male sex hormone characteristics. So it's very important for men and women to have DHT. Obviously, women less, like 1/20th of a man is usually the testosterone ratio difference. They say 10x, but it's more like almost close to 20x, as far as a man usually has 20 times higher testosterone levels than a woman. I guess 10's meeting in the middle. So either way, it's obviously noted that a man has way higher levels of testosterone and DHT. But DHT is, like I said, it's the most highly androgenic component of testosterone, and it's what makes you male. It's what makes you go through puberty and adolescence as a man, with deepening of the voice, facial hair, etc. These are all androgenic components that you get through, like I said, puberty and masculinization of a man. Women have to have some of that, some DHT conversion, but it's just not nearly as significant in a woman as it is a man. It's just way more evident as far as men go with this conversion, or having the DHT basically in their system, or that conversion of dihydrotestosterone.
Now, concerning females or women in general, why are clinics pushing for TRT replacement therapy or testosterone replacement therapy for women? How is that dosed correctly? What is the correct dose for most women to take? What are these clinics pushing for as far as dosing goes? Please explain a little bit on your thoughts on what you think about TRT for women and what's all advocated and what's all involved.
Well, as TRT is concerned for women, it's important for women just as is a man. If they're, like I said, if they're having hypogonadal symptoms, even women could have tanked testosterone levels and take progesterone levels. But testosterone levels, and even in a woman, can be tanked through menopause, suppression of like I said, the gonadotropin releasing hormones, from low levels of FSH and LH, That being said, the follicle stimulating hormone or luteinizing hormone is on the lower spectrum of things due to stress, cortisol levels, or work stress, I should say, environmental stress, lack of good sleep. It could be, like I said, even indicative of endogenous levels being lower because it's a genetic predisposition or what have you. They're going to have to do TRT therapy. Now, as far as dosing goes, women are going to be definitely a lower dose, like I said, between 1/10 to 1/20th of a man as far as dosing goes. There are some compounding pharmacies that do advocate a 20 milligram per 1 ml conversion of testosterone for a woman. Now, a lot of these clinics are pushing 10 milligrams per week on a woman, which in my mind, in my opinion, is way too high. Because 10 milligrams it can put a woman into super physiological levels of testosterone, and their nanograms will be through the roof. You're looking at, you don't want a woman at 2, 3, 400 nanograms per deciliter for their total testosterone, and really high free. That's just way unhealthy and puts them in the red way too much. 60 to 100 is efficient. Even 60 to 80 is really good, in my opinion. So basically under 100 is like I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm just advocating what I think, and this is purely just my opinion as an IFBB pro bodybuilder and somebody who's been doing something like this as far as studying hormones and endocrinology and pharmacology for like the past 30 years, and obviously anecdotal studies on my own. So my opinion stated forward for women would be less than 10 milligrams a week. I would think they would be well and fare well with starting at 3-4 milligrams a week, even 6 at a high end. And you can always titrate up from there if you check their blood work to see if their nanograms per deciliter is exceeding that factor of hormonal status as far as optimal levels go, okay? So that being said, they don't need to be higher than 70, 80 nanograms a deciliter as far as being efficient and hormonally optimal and feeling optimized, especially if their testosterone's in the gutter to begin with, like I said, due to suppression or what have you, or it'd be a genetic predisposition. So that's my opinion on women and their TRT.
Is exogenous DHEA important as far as supplementing in a person's regimen?
Uh-huh.
What's the importance of it? What's the role that DHEA takes on, and why?
Well, DHEA, also known as dehydroepiandrosterone, is definitely an important function for males and females. I know it's completely legal to have DHEA. I'm talking about the legalities of it in the United States without a prescription. I believe in Canada, though, it's a class 1 like felony if you were to have DHEA on you. So definitely has to be prescription related in Canada, which is our neighboring country above us. But here in the United States, it's abundantly available in any market. You can go to GNC, Vitamin Shop, whatever, online, Amazon. You can buy hundreds and hundreds of capsules of it. But long story short, DHEA, like I said, dehydroepiandrosterone, is really good for, I think, bringing up free testosterone levels on people that are like deficient in that spectrum of things. It's an abundant hormone. I think it's very important for that aspect of things. It can also help total testosterone levels too. It's definitely related to your adrenals in a sense, kind of helps that function out because, the hypothalamus signals for, corticotropin releasing hormone sent down the hypophyseal portal system to the anterior pituitary to release adrenocorticotropic hormone. So adrenocorticotropic hormone signals the outside of the glands of your adrenals, and 3 things are released once that's attenuated. Once it goes through that function, it's going to release cortisol, aldosterone, it's another one, and dihydroepiandrosterone is a third one, which is an androgen. So that androgen being said, it's going to need that through stress, which is indicative of the whole stimulus to begin with through the hypothalamus. So that being said, when stress is advocated and DHEA is endogenously released to the system, it's going to spike and go towards pre-existing testosterone levels in the body and help raise those frequencies or drop them, so to say, if it's too much. So having enough elevated DHEA in the system, I think, is very important for those metabolic functions, especially for fight or flight and for stress. Also, that being said, it can be shown on blood work as well through DHEA sulfate. So right there, you can see if you're in a lower range, mid-range, or an upper range of DHEA sulfate to add more exogenous DHEA or not have to take it at all, etc. The blood work pretty much doesn't lie.
What is the importance of progesterone, and why is it used? And who is it mainly used for, women or men?
Okay, so progesterone, the functions of progesterone. Like I said, I kind of mentioned it earlier with women and needing testosterone levels as well. If they're plummeted in testosterone levels or suppressed, progesterone is also an important thing, and it happens to women that are premenopausal or going through that system of things. Not every woman, some women have okay testosterone levels and very, very low progesterone levels, but too low progesterone levels can cause problems in their uterus. It can cause cysts. It can cause downstream bad side effects of having too low progesterone. Also, if they're trying to have kids, they're trying to be fertile, you need progesterone. You can't have super low progesterone. And you're probably not going to get very good sleep at night either with tanked progesterone levels, because it does help induce sleep and rest and recovery in that aspect of things if you have the adequate levels of progesterone. But for women, it's definitely important to have adequate levels of that hormone existing in their endogenous system. So
Is there an important role for peptides?
you
And
can't
what
get
is going on with peptides nowadays? Are they
not listening.
banned? Are they going to be banned for a long time? Why were they banned to
Hmm.
begin with? And which peptides were being pushed the most, as far as which ones were working the best? Which ones had the highest efficacy versus which ones really didn't do much? What's your opinion?
Well, what's going on with peptides now, they're considered a class 2. They didn't used to be, like even like a month and a half, 2 months ago, but now all of a sudden they're a class 2, so they're on the ban list. Now, is it completely illegal to manufacture them? I mean, there's a gray area there. Going on the aspect of people who are selling them online and stuff, they're just basically intricating a fine line. They're probably not going to get shut down right away if they're in slow operations, if they're selling certain peptides or peptides in general, like BCP 157, CJC 1295, ipamorelin, the MK 677, which is GH analog or secretagogue or ghrelin analog. But anyways, long story short on those two, these were good peptides. They had a place, they were working. I know BCP 157 got slightly a bad rap because they said that it could cause cancer and blah, blah, blah in certain patients. I mean, I don't know how close the story of that is true as far as causing indicative levels of cancerous cells being minutely introduced in someone's system because of that product. But I don't know, like I said, but from certain studies and things that people were using that product, it had good reputation. It was working really, really well. And people have used it, at a considerable level. Torn ligaments, stretched biceps, just like I said, injuries across the board that BCP 157 was used. So it's probably going to be really, really missed. And you can probably still get it today, like I said, on certain sites, but they're not really legally supposed to be selling these products and selling those peptides. So, I mean, if up to me, I think they should be sold. I think they're working fine. I know certain peptides like ACG was actually a peptide too back in the day, which is a good, a PCT for post-cycle treatment, and it was great for a lot of different reasons, especially for raising LH, a luteinizing hormone, for people that had suppressed gonadotropin releasing hormones and they didn't really want to do a TRT and they're trying to have kids one day. But human chorionic gonadotropin is now a biologic, and I think you can go and get that through a doctor or a lab that specifies in biologics, and they actually have biological equipment to fortify ACG production. You can get it through them, but most clinics won't even subscribe ACG. They're going to use gonadorelin, which is a GnRH agonist. Kind of does both LH and FSH, and skips that bypass and goes through the whole loop instead of going through the pituitary to release LH for stimulation for testosterone, like ACG would. ACG is superior in my opinion. Gonadorelin is not as good, but it's what they have available for most clinics now. I know I'm getting a little off topic here. It's going back to peptides. These are all kind of peptide related in my opinion. But like I said, BCP was probably the 157 was probably one of the better peptides in my opinion. The other ones were okay, but now they're hard to get, unfortunately, because they're class 2.
Do you have any tips on the importance of longevity or health in general when it comes to PEDs
Yeah.
or anything exogenous hormone related, as far as what should be done or how things should be taken? What are the things that you need to look for to be optimal or to be healthy? What would you recommend?
Well, first and foremost for longevity, always get blood work done. I would say every 6 months, even every 3 months if you're really ambitious on checking your levels. But every 3 to 6 months, get your blood work done. Make sure and get a full metabolic panel, get a full hormone panel. So check your testosterone, estrogen, estradiol. Make sure and get a full liver panel check. So your AST, ALT, that's very, very important. Cardiovascular profile is super important. So make sure your LDL and HDL is in check. That's really, really important. Your A1C is also super important. Make sure that you're not going into diabetic with that. So your blood sugar is good. But yeah, blood work in general is super important. If you're worried about plaque buildup and you want to dive further into looking at your heart and making sure it's functional and making sure everything's okay and your arteries are clear, echocardiogram and calcium score tests. So I say get one of those once a year, or every year and a half or something like that, especially if you're doing PEDs or performance enhancing drugs. Definitely get an echocardiogram and calcium score test. I think that's super prudent and super important and should be pretty high on the list, along with constant blood work. Get a blood pressure with a cup, so you can make sure your systolic, and the dystolic, your blood pressure is in check and you're not having high blood pressure, because cardiovascular disease and high blood pressure and stroke is really relative to death, and you don't want have that creeping up on you. You don't want to walk around with a really high blood pressure. Definitely will try to avoid that by all costs, but as far as longevity goes, like, do those markers, do a lot of self progression and self awareness on making sure you get yourself checked off. As far as what's healthiest on the PED list, or I should say exogenous hormone list, testosterone is replacement therapy is probably the most tried and true background and basis of all therapy to make sure that your testosterone levels are adequate and they're on a steady kill, and you're not basically jumping up and down with testosterone levels, or you're not staying suppressed at a really, really, low nanograms per deciliter, because your quality of life is not going to be good. I think that goes across the board for men and women. For women to be progesterone and testosterone at small amounts, to make sure that they're optimal. Optimization of hormones through certain exogenous use has its place. Make sure to get that checked. It's going to be different for everybody, because different people are going to have different levels of hormonal levels as far as what's tanked and what isn't, and what needs to be indicative of fixing or manually fixed, I should say, or damage controlled or attenuated through over-the-counter vitamins and diet and nutrition. But nutrition is super important. Sleep and recovery, getting plenty of sleep is super important. So those things also need to be attenuated. Lifestyle, obviously, lifestyle choices, not smoking. This should all be common sense, but it's not. But that being said, follow the basis on all these things, and you should be going in the right direction.